Nillion, buenos dias and wakey wakey to this lazy Sunday Cosmos episode. I've been covering Cosmos here on this channel since more than 4 years now, and let me tell you, it's been a wild, very volatile and emotional roller coaster ride that I've been on here, because Cosmos also went through a lot. However, we pulled through here on this channel. We stick to our principles, mid-curving crypto with the Cosmos ecosystem, which is one of the most fundamental and innovative ecosystems in all of crypto, and might eventually also turn out to be the right curve take on crypto all along. We talked about Cosmos season, a new chapter for Cosmos. We also talked again and again about this resurrection miracle and Cosmos just being one of the biggest underdogs in all of crypto potentially. And why did I say this repeatedly? Well, mainly because of 3 things. Number 1, Cosmos has a true hardcore community that is going through thick or thin, through the best and through the worst times, and they will continue to be there. And I'll count myself and my team at the Cito Zone, at Cosmos Labs, and also at Stakecito as hardcore cosmonauts. So you have this core basic community, which is really probably the most important thing for any crypto ecosystem to survive tough times. Second, we now have new leadership in Cosmos. Something that's been missing for a very, very long time is that now with Interchain Labs, Mark and Barry, we have 2 young, ambitious, smart, well-respected builders and contributors in the crypto ecosystem that have a lot of experience and skin in the game, that are now sitting at the steering wheel and are not only making the Cosmos hub a true hub, but also they are making the Cosmos brand great again, and they're also concentrating a lot of efforts that will eventually cause a huge influx of new builders to choose the ecosystem. Because so far, and that is the third point, a lot of builders have just organically landed in Cosmos. One of the latest launches that is actually happening tomorrow is Nillion Network. Nillion is a Cosmos SDK blockchain focused on privacy. They're calling it the blind computer, and that mainnet is launching tomorrow, and with it also an airdrop, which we're going to be talking about in a minute. But speaking of airdrops, also a quick update, because that is something we have been covering in the last video about the Mantra airdrop that was supposed to go live on March 18th. Well, that was postponed until further notice, and there was an on-chain governance proposal that was published on March 18th, and that proposal was requesting for the Sybilt allocation, which accounts to roughly 26 million, so more than half of the airdrop that was reserved for the Cosmos community. So more than half of that was apparently Sybilt or botted by airdrop farmers and just automated systems, and that is now being sent to the Mantra community pool and eventually might get burned or used for other endeavors. I personally think they should have just doubled up the airdrop allocation for honest airdrop recipients, but yeah, that's just my personal opinion. Also, it is important to state here that the Mantra governance system is mostly controlled by the Mantra Foundation itself, or by the Mantra Association, which you can find out by simply going onto Mintscan, and you'll see the top validators that have the most voting power, which actually is the Mantra Association itself. Anyways, looking into the price movement, Mantra still continues to be the largest Cosmos chain by far, $6.3 billion in market cap, which is 3 times bigger than the second largest one, which is Kronos. Then we have the Cosmos Atom reclaiming the 3rd rank, now at $4.81. It actually had a little pump yesterday above $5. Celestia Tia. Then we have FetchAI, now renamed into ASI Alliance, Injective, Stay, Kava, DYDX, and many, many more. We still are on very, very low levels, nowhere near Cosmos season or anything like that, but I believe that we are in the midst of this Cosmos resurrection miracle, restoring vibes, restoring the brand, restoring cohesion within the ecosystem, and eventually this will also then be reflected on the charts. Now, the sentiment shift can also be noticed on Twitter. There's right now this running theme going where everyone's just tweeting, I love Cosmos, and we suffered so much that I think our suffering tolerance is off the charts, right? And we're now seeing other crypto ecosystems like Ethereum, even Solana, that has a lot of infighting now coming up, and I think Cosmos already went past that and can now focus on restoring the vibes and also building the ecosystem out and scaling adoption as well. And as always, on the Cito Zone account on Twitter and also on our website, you can find our Cosmos Bytes recap of all the highlights, most important news of the week. We're posting this on a weekly basis here, and we'll continue to refine this. We're also seeing now founders, community members, contributors from different organizations tweeting Aleph Cosmos, and I just gave a like to all of them because, yeah, we need to also support each other, right? Also with Stakecito, we're of course supporting that as well. Zaki here, Hisham, founder of Illis, Farmer, Prof K, Brian Crane, founder of Chorus One, and so on and so forth. Even Bad Kids, right, which is also now denominated in Atom, so they're also fully Atom aligned. So the social layer is one thing. The other one is the technological layer, right? And I think Cosmos on that end has actually always been one of the most well-respected technologies in all of crypto, because it pioneered the app chain thesis. It's all about sovereignty and interoperability, and that's why eventually it will also win. Well, now we have a major announcement that is actually, in the long term, maybe the most bullish thing that could happen to Atom and perfectly fits into its roadmap. That's just my personal guess here, but overall, I think it's a big win for the Cosmos ecosystem, which is the news that the Interchain Foundation has funded Tarsus, which is the core organization behind FMOS or EVM OS, to open source their code base and rename it into Cosmos EVM. And with that, Federico, the founder of FMOS, also announced that he'll be stepping down from FMOS and will be advising Interchain Labs or the Interchain Foundation on their Cosmos EVM roadmap, which obviously is very bad for all FMOS holders, and including myself. I still have all my FMOS tokens that I bought over the years and staked in Compound. And what started off as a gift that kept on giving during the bear market in 2022 turned out to be, well, a failed project in the end of the day. It's just what it is, right? At least that's kind of the news that I'm interpreting from this post here, with Federico also stepping down. But nonetheless, I think the Cosmos EVM stack will continue to thrive, and now that opens up the door for the Cosmos Hub to actually become an EVM hub as well, with IBC Eureka, which is around the corner, to also become fully compatible with Ethereum when it comes to interoperability, but also to deploy the Cosmos EVM, previously EVM OS. And the roadmap in the short term is that there will be an audit for Cosmos EVM to also add support for IBC Eureka. And the long-term roadmap is all about EVM expansion, and the Interchain Foundation or Interchain Labs, which is basically the operational arm of the ICF, is now fully in charge of that code base, which means they're able to integrate that into the official Cosmos stack roadmap and potentially also the Cosmos Hub roadmap, because they're in charge of both. And Noam is actually the product lead at Interchain Labs for the Cosmos Hub. And I also love that now you have easy ways to contact them, to also just go here and book a call with Noam, which is something that's always been missing in Cosmos, is that it was always very hard to get in touch with someone, to even know who to speak to, right? Now, the Cosmos EVM and IBC Eureka are very important for Solidity developers, Ethereum compatibility. And if you look historically also into the EVM landscape, you see Sane Network for parallel EVM execution, Berachain, Injective, Kava. All these chains are all Cosmos chains underneath. So the EVM sector is already very competitive from Cosmos chains. Another sector that is actually dominated by Cosmos technology is the RWA sector. And the Cosmos account also published this article here on why RWA or tokenization projects choose Cosmos to build their chain on. And they're also highlighting 4 projects here. First off, Mantra, which is specialized on tokenizing real estate, not limited to it, but that's what they're focusing on, especially here in the UAE, tokenizing real estate. They already landed multiple multi-billion-dollar deals. One with Damak that was already announced a couple of months ago, then with Mac Group as well. So those two are actually some of the biggest real estate developers here in Dubai. Their Damak logo is literally on every other building here in the Dubai Marina where I live. And then also other assets. Eventually, there will also be financial products also in the US, now that the US is also embracing crypto more. And one of the chains that is already well established in tokenizing financial products in the US is in fact Provenance blockchain, which I think a lot of people are not really aware of, even within Cosmos, because they never really had a strong social media game. But Provenance is a full-on Cosmos SDK blockchain. They also came to Cosmos last year, had a panel there in the tokenization track. And they have 2 very interesting things. Number 1, Project Guardian, which we also shared here on the channel when it was announced back then, which is a collaboration also with JP Morgan and Apollo Global Management. So big TradFi guys on the table. Also, Axelar Network is powering some of the technology here. And also Figure Technologies, that is specialized in traditional lending services and has been the core driver behind the huge TVL. In fact, over $13 billion worth of assets have already been tokenized on Provenance, causing $41 billion in transactional volume, which is crazy. like those numbers are made in Cosmos, and I think we'll continue to see more adoption. Then we have Noble, which is the hub for native asset issuance. What started off as the USDC chain now became a lot more than that. They issued over $400 million in USDC, but then they also launched hash nodes USYC and Ondo's USDY. So those two stablecoins are already live there. And more recently, they also launched their own stablecoin, the Noble Dollar USDN, in partnership with M0, that already reached a market cap of $40 million. So that's very, very bullish. There's also an ongoing points system where you can earn Noble points, because eventually Noble will launch their own token as well, as it seems. And the most recently there was announced that it's now in the progress of migrating from Ethereum to launch its own Cosmos app chain, similarly to how DYDX did it, and potentially also how Ethena is doing it, is Ondo, right? Ondo, also one of the most established players for tokenizing financial products and also collaborating with BlackRock in the US, is also coming to Cosmos. This one is also an institutional player, an institutional chain, and it just proves the app chain thesis. It just proves that Cosmos is the best stack to launch their chain on. So you can read all about that here. And to be honest, they could publish such articles on other verticals as well, such as AI, artificial intelligence, right? We have Fetch AI, we have Akash network, we have Allura that is coming, and many more. Then they could do the same about DeFi, right? We have DYDX, we have Osmosis, we have Kronos as well. I mentioned EVM earlier. We have modularity, which was a category created by Celestia, a full-on Cosmos chain as well. We also have Bitcoin, the Bitcoin ecosystem, which is dominated by Babylon, that is also very, very close to launching their chain. And Babylon, with a TVL of more than $5 billion, is actually one of the most highly anticipated launches. And I also have a interview coming up with David, the founder of Babylon, very soon. So drop me your questions for David if you have any. Interviews coming very, very shortly. But getting back to the Cosmos Hub, there is a proposal right now that is an expedited proposal, which means it's only on there for a week and not the standard 2-week voting period. And that is the Gaia V23 Upgrade, which is clearing the path for IBC Eureka to launch, which is supposed to launch, I think, in less than 3 or 4 weeks. So IBC Eureka is coming very, very soon. And it's going to unlock EVM interoperability for the Cosmos Hub and eventually also clearing the pathway for the EVM to land on the Cosmos Hub. So that's one direction of the product roadmap. Another product that is gaining more and more steam is in fact Hydro, the liquidity layer of the Cosmos Hub, which is basically a gamified way for Atom liquidity and soon also for USDC liquidity to be lent out to applications in the Cosmos ecosystem, and eventually also not only generate an additional APR on top of your liquid staked Atom, but also to generate a revenue model for Atom itself. And traders are also taking note of that, not only because there's now this new leadership in play, but also because apparently on the chart, Atom looks interesting. I'm not a trader, so I'm not qualified to assess that. But if you are a trader, a professional trader, you can also trade long or short cryptocurrencies on DYDX using the referral link in the top video description. You get a 50% discount on trading fees there. So use that link if you are trading on DYDX or want to get onboarded to DYDX. And yeah, this guy here saying that Atom has now broken through this trend line, through this falling wedge here, and is going to snap back to $10, it seems, which is also the stablecoin pack for Atom historically. Now, if you're wondering who this Mac guy is that I always talk about here and why I'm so bullish on him and Interchain Labs now, then read through this post that we shared here on C2Zone, basically breaking down his background, his education, where he came from, what he did in crypto, the whole backstory on Skip, MEV, and Cosmos, and then all the way to the acquisition by the Interchain Foundation. So read through that post and also share it and amplify it. I think this deserves a lot more impressions and views and likes. And also go follow Mac on Twitter. He only has 5,400 followers and he needs to go to 10K ASAP. So right now, get him to 10,000 followers. This guy is probably one of the most instrumental people and contributors to Cosmos for 2025 and 2026, and is one of the main reasons for this sentiment shift and this resurrection miracle that is ongoing in Cosmos. Now, Barry, who is basically Mac's better half, best friend, co-CEO at Interchain Labs, called for potentially you to apply for a head of engineering role to accelerate Cosmos. So check that out as well. If someone is coming through this video, then we might get a 25K referral bonus. So that will be nice. But yeah, in any case, apply for this role if you think you're qualified, if you're excited about Cosmos and want to contribute and also, yeah, sit at the steering wheel for the engineering roadmap of Cosmos. Now, getting back to the main news for today, which is that Nillion is launching its mainnet and also Airdrop tomorrow, Monday 24th. Narch is entering its final form. Nillion is finally here. And with Stakecito, we're very proud to be one of the Genesis validators for Nillion. You can find us right here. And you can pre-stake your nil allocation with us on day one. And we're so excited and proud about it that we even changed our profile picture to a blind Stakecito. And we're just fully Nillion aligned as a Genesis validator, but also as a investor into Nillion. They also shared with that a full breakdown of the nil tokenomics, which you can also find here in this post. So the total supply at Genesis is going to be 1 billion nil tokens, which is quite common in crypto nowadays. Inflation schedule is set at around 1% a year, which can be changed through governance. The initial float is going to be around 20%, which is also quite decent. And overall, the breakdown of the tokenomics is as follows: 20% community, 29% ecosystem R&D, protocol development 10%, core contributors 20%, and early backers 21%, which is also quite well distributed, I would say. And this is the distribution chart over time. So there will be a 1-year lock for investors, contributors, and everyone else basically, followed by a 3-year, so 36 months unlock until after 4 years, 1 billion tokens are in circulation. There's also going to be a community airdrop. I already shared the airdrop checker a couple months ago, but now they have updated their airdrop checker. You can find it here, claims.nillion.com. I'll leave a link below this video. Just connect your Kepler wallet and then you'll be able to check if you are eligible. Now, we also have news from DYDX, which is still suffering in terms of the price movement, but in my view, that gives more time to accumulate more. And I want to stack more DYDX. I want to buy more. I do have a bag, but I'm not yet happy about it, especially at those prices. I want to keep buying. DYDX inflation is set at 0, staking APR in 1%, but note that this is in USDC, not in DYDX tokens. And DYDX is not only one of the leading perp dexes out there with nearly $300 billion in cumulative trading volume since they launched their Cosmos L1, but also because they have DYDX Search currently on the forum, proposed by Chaos Labs, which is a huge incentives program, a rewards program. We mentioned it already in the last video. Please provide your feedback here. They're going to aggressively incentivize DYDX trading or trading on DYDX over 9 months, which I think is a smart move considering that perps trading is hyper competitive with hyper liquid being the market leader right now. They only launched a couple months ago. So you might argue they're still in their honeymoon phase, gaining massive traction and not only being a $15 billion market cap coin, but also having billions and billions, like $10 billion in daily trade volume, which is like 15 times more than DYDX right now. But we'll see how this looks like in 1 or 2 years from now in the mid to long term. And DYDX has just been on the market for a very, very long time, which is something that Hyperliquid does not have yet, is this huge track record in the market throughout a bear market as well. And I think DYDX is definitely here to stay. So read through that proposal, leave your thoughts under this proposal as well, and we'll see if this DYDX search program is going to have an impact on DYDX volumes. At the same time, we also saw DYDX announcing a partnership with Binance Web3 Wallet. DYDX is now fully integrated on Binance Wallet, which means easier accessibility and more visibility on DYDX. Now, we also have a big launch tomorrow, not only Nillion that is going live, but also Berachain POL, Proof of Liquidity, is going live tomorrow, which means that Berachain ecosystem projects can also now participate in POL. This has previously been limited to BEX pools only, which is the native Berachain DEX. And if you are a BGT holder, this means you have control to vote for those projects and us as validators as well. So we're going to be playing a crucial role in this, which is an extended responsibility that we have also as validators, where we direct our liquidity to. You can participate here on hub.berachain.com, click on reward vaults, and then you'll see which vaults are whitelisted. This thing is going to go live tomorrow, so check that out. And if you want to learn everything about proof of liquidity on Berachain, then check out one of my recent videos where I broke down how Berachain works and what POL actually is. Now, getting back to Mantra and the Ohm airdrop, now that the proposal I talked about earlier has passed, which means that roughly 27 million Ohm that were Sybil flagged will go to the community pool, and 2 million roughly Ohm will be unlocked in the 10% gen drop, which is now happening any day. And they also mentioned that they will not be sharing an announcement date, but they will just drop the link once the airdrop gets claimable. So be very, very cautious with scam links, because there will probably be a lot of phishing out there. And you have to be extra cautious, double, triple, quadruple check the airdrop link, check with other community members, and get verification from official team members before you click on Connect Wallet, because that is very, very important. Anyways, that is coming any day now. Now, quick round of alpha as I'm wrapping up the video. Osmosis, in my view, is still one of the biggest sleeping giants in crypto in Cosmos. And my personal Osmo bags are at an absolute all-time high. And I actually want to continue stacking at those price levels, which also counts for DYDX and many other coins. And I'm mainly highlighting two things. Number one, how Osmosis is building out the rails to drive more volume on the exchange itself, but also how Osmosis is more and more becoming Bitmosis, not only because they are the MicroStrategy of Cosmos and acquiring Bitcoin on-chain, but also they will have a close integration with Babylon, become a Babylon Bitcoin secured network, and also they will be the launch partners for the baby token that is going to launch very, very soon, Babylon's native token, which is potentially also going to launch at a multi-billion-dollar valuation. So that's coming. And then at the same time, they're also integrating SwapKit for routing, which was previously, I think, mostly deployed on Torchain, and then also Polaris that is still launching. Now pair this with refined tokenomics that were refined over the past years throughout the bear market, with now a more aggressive burn mechanism that's also in play, makes for a great Osmo resurrection as well, I think. And the same also might happen for Stride, which is also one of the best teams in Cosmos. Stride has aggressively incentivized the TVL growth on the back of the STRD token, which was used as an incentive token, especially for TIA, for example, where they allocated 5% of the Stride supply. Well, now that's all over. STRD is not anymore used to incentivize TVL growth. Instead, they are doing the opposite. So they're buying and burning STRD tokens, and STRD also had a major pump today, which might be linked to this. And currently, at the current rate, they're burning around 2% of the supply, or 2 million tokens per year. Then we have Initia coming up with also their ecosystem of rollups that are launching day one on Initia, like Milky Way. I think Echelon is going to be there, and also Intergaze, which is an outpost basically of Stargaze on Initia. They're currently live on testnet, and you can now mint your Jolly Jenny, which eventually also might translate into an airdrop. And hopefully this will also cause a Stargaze resurrection, Stargaze being the premier NFT platform in Cosmos, and BadKids being the first NFT collection on Stargaze. That is also a flagship OG collection, just celebrated their 3rd anniversary. Happy birthday to all bad kids. Let me know if you are a bad kid in the comments under this video. And you can come here now. They launched a new website, badkids.com, and you can add some features to your bad kid. You can just connect your wallet here and then play around with that. And finally, the privacy sector is also pretty much dominated by Cosmos technology at this point, with Fairblock being another L1 that is going to launch very, very soon. There's also all about confidentiality and privacy. We also have Namada, we have Penumbra, now we have Nillion. We also have OGs like Secret Network and Shade Protocol that is all made in Cosmos. One of the projects I hope that will also join the IBC economy is also our media partners at Aleph Zero, that also posted an article here on what Aleph Zero is, who uses it, and what it all does. They also shared a tutorial here on how you can send your USDC privately on Base Chain that is also currently in testnet right now. And Common, which is their DeFi suite of products that is also fully privacy enabled and built on top of Aleph Zero, is offering a lot of DeFi protocols like lending. You can provide liquidity, you can trade, you can do a lot of things. I think this is maybe comparable to Shade Protocol on Cosmos, but eventually I personally really hope, and I want to do my best to contribute, that Aleph Zero connects to the Cosmos ecosystem and becomes part of Cosmos by integrating IBC. Maybe with IBC Eureka, this actually makes a lot of sense because Aleph Zero also deploys the EVM. So I think that might make it a lot more easier and seamless. Anyways, that's all for today's video. Now, all eyes on tomorrow for the Nillion Mainnet launch and Airdrop, also Berachain POL launching tomorrow. A lot more announcements also coming with regards to Cosmoverse. We have the early bird tickets going live very, very soon. So stay tuned for that. And I'll see you here very soon on Cryptocito. Until then, stay safe and be good.